Good morning. Thank you. So, you've heard one of the finest IP judges in the country. Well, I can say the finest in the first session. I think you called it a fire chat session. That was excellent. The answers given, they're very, very inspiring. And I can tell you that over the years of 45 years of my practice, I've not had a more diligent, hardworking junior. And when she left, we were very sad, but she's made a huge career in the legal profession and used to appear against me and give me a very rough time in court, and ultimately became a judge and one of the finest judges. You must read her decisions. They are outstanding. So that was a very inspiring beginning that you've had. What I propose to talk about is a very difficult topic on innovation or taking India, making India into an innovation hub. It already is an innovation hub. We are now 39th in the top in the Global Innovation Index. We are 39. We were somewhere around 60, 70. We kind of gradually have fallen, which means we are doing much better. But the idea is, how do we get into the top 10 or even the top 5? And that is got to be the goal. And I think it's important here to see that countries like China have not a 5-year plan. They have a 100-year plan. And we need to really look into the distant horizon in order to plan. And I think our aim should be to get into at least the top 10 innovation countries. Now, innovation elements, essentially 3: creating or generating new ideas. And with a population as large as ours, you can imagine how many people with extreme intelligence, with a high degree of intelligence, with a little education, how much they can achieve in terms of generating new ideas. Second, capturing those ideas into technical documents like patents. What good is an idea unless you give it shape? So you have to give the idea a shape by drafting a drawing or a patent specification or a technical document. And that is a skill. Not everybody can do that. Some people can generate an idea, but then it's gone into the twilight zone. It's gone into the air. They had that lovely song, "The answer, my friend, has gone in the wind." But it's important to capture the idea. And so we need to develop those skills. And then converting those ideas or IP, it may be a patent, it may be an industrial design, it may be a copyright in a drawing, a technical drawing, converting that into a product which is useful for mankind, for humans, or animals, but basically useful. That third phase is a different skill altogether, because a lot of people stop at the first skill. I've had inventors who come to me and tell me, I'm thinking of having an air-conditioned suit. And who did this? Bomi Gamath, the guy who came up with jeans for the first time in India, Jean Junction. So he says, I want an air-conditioned suit. I said, air-conditioned suit, but you'll need holes in your garments. He says, yeah, I'll approach the garment people one day to get that done. I said, but in Delhi, if this part downwards, neck downwards, is cool and the head is got the hot sun shining on it, the differential will make you ill. He says, yes, I have to consult doctors. My point is, the inventor only thinks like Arjun on the eye of the parrot. He doesn't bother about garments or about health issues out of differential temperature. He doesn't bother about all that. I've had many people. I've had a client from Portugal who said, I've come out with a watch that you can have every day. That is a new watch every day with your morning newspaper stuck on it. That was the time of the newspapers. Stuck. So you peel off the watch from the newspaper and it starts. But it only goes off for 24 hours. And so it can have, like Google has something peculiar related to the event of the day, you can have a picture of the event of the day on the watch, or advertising or whatever. So I said, yes, but newspapers cost 50 paisa, whereas the watch will add hugely to the price. He says, yes, I have to go to Japan to figure out how to make something like that. I said, what about the apparatus to stick the watch? He says, yes, we have to work all that out. So inventors only think of their invention, nothing beyond. So it's really important to this step of converting those ideas into products requires a interaction, collaboration between the inventor and a commercial person who can look at the costing issues and see if it's a feasible idea, and maybe a technical person looking at other aspects. So a group of people is required as a team. These are the elements of innovation. Now, the creating ideas, it's very important first to know, you just can't suddenly say, I'll have a train go by dropping water on the side, and so that next to the train there'll be trees growing. You can't just think of ideas like that. You have to identify a problem. And what has been said hugely is try to identify local problems. Like there are local diseases. In India, we have diseases like Kala Azar or monkey fever or Chandipura virus. They are peculiar to India. And if someone were to spend money on developing a molecule for these diseases, then look at the market. The market is huge and the problem would be solved. But our inventors, are they really thinking of local problems and how to... So identification of a local problem is also a very important aspect of the innovation process, which we need to develop a little further. We are going that way, but we need to... What is that now? I'm sorry about this. Yes. Now, creating a motivation to solve the problem. It's very, very important that motivation is created, which means right from in schools, teaching people, students, problem-solving techniques. Like, I don't know if you've heard of TRIZ. TRIZ is a Russian invention. It's a group of 40 rules which can teach anybody to become an inventor. By following those rules, anyone can innovate. So it's important in Russian schools, they teach TRIZ as a technique. And the awards and recognitions also creates motivation. Like in Germany, they have a rule in their statute book which says that if somebody invents something, then 10% of that, I think it's probably much more, I think it's 30%, but I'm not sure. A very large percent of that goes to the inventor. So there's a lot of motivation for people to invent. Then the solutions can be small or they can be big ideas. Niti Aayog, when they saw the DeepSeek was announced on the 10th of January 25, the Chinese artificial intelligence chatbot. And when Niti Aayog saw that, they came out with a discussion paper. And in the discussion paper, the concluding sentence was, the time for incremental innovation is over. We need to think big. Niti Aayog just said that because they realized that the world is spending lesser money in countries like China and creating bigger concepts, and we need to do the same. So, or can we just keep thinking about incremental innovation as we have been doing with some of our ideas, like Jugaad. Jugaad has been a hot favorite with India, and that's good. That's very good. We can't ignore that. And that also works in a lot of situations. But we also have to think of the bigger ideas. So the time for incremental innovation is over. USA, the way they reacted, they called it the Sputnik moment. You remember in some of you may have, none of you were born then, but certainly in 1957, you may have read about Sputnik. Russia put up the first satellite in the air. America was shocked because they thought they were the leaders in science and certainly in airspace science. But they were shocked that Russia had put up Sputnik. And within 1 month, they put a dog in the air, and Laika. And it shocked them so much. They called it the Sputnik moment, and they sent a team of people to Russia to find out what is it that they're doing differently. And they came back with a report saying in their schools, they necessarily study STEM, science, technology, engineering, maths. Whereas the number of students that were studying science in American schools was far lower. So they revamped their entire education system. Even now, when DeepSeek came out, they called it the Sputnik moment, which means America has to think differently. And you may have seen what the American President Trump said when he got shaken up, and he said this is a wake-up call for the American scientists. And so you remember many years ago there was a book, some of you may have read about it, in 1973 on appropriate technology. It was Schumacher was the author, and it was called Small is Beautiful. And the whole concept was that in countries like India, you have to think of small innovation, which is environmentally friendly and so on, and you need not think of the very big ideas. But interestingly, whether it is big or small, intellectual property takes care of both. So IP, whether big or small, you can have incremental innovation, you can have a small design protection, or you can have a big idea. Intellectual property stitches them all. The skill of writing patents, that needs to be developed because that's a totally different skill, as I said earlier. R&D has increased. In 1995, when India joined the TRIPS agreement, that time the R&D was about 7,500 crores. And that has gone up to about 20,000 crores as of last year. So it's gone up more than three times. But as a percentage of GDP, it is less than 1%. It was 0.61%, now it's less than 1%. Still, that needs to go up. Because if you have more money going into research, that's when more products will come out. That's when more inventions will be generated. Patent applications have increased, which is a very healthy trend. In fact, India is the 6th largest patent filing country in the world, which is fantastic. But the question is, as compared to countries like China, we are nowhere. And what is it that China is doing? Should we just say their patents are bad, their patents are weak, they are mostly invalid? That's one approach. The other approach is to actually see what they're doing and try to emulate that. And they're doing a couple of things. Jugao, Juguo, is a Chinese word, not jugad, Jugao. Jugao means one country. So they have a one country approach, so a policy which covers the whole country. And the second, they have what they call the mayor assistance program, where every mayor in every small region, if they find a failing business, like NEO for electric vehicles was failing, was closing down, the mayors put in a lot of money to save that business from going down. And that's how they saved and became one of the top EV companies in the world. So that's the kind of assistance that's provided by the state. India, the Indian content of Indians filing patents was about 22% in 1995. Now that has gone up to about 55%, which means many more Indians are filing patents. I was surprised when I first went to China, I could not find a proper shampoo in the hotel. So much so that I asked one of my colleagues, co-speakers, for his shampoo, and I got his shampoo, and after 3 days I found I hadn't returned it, and his hair was going stiff. And we discovered that when we went to you only had dollar shops, and you would go to a dollar shop to try and buy shampoo, and there used to be 1 or 2 varieties. Today, if you go to China, and this was my, I think, 6th or 7th visit, there are hundreds of varieties of things. For example, I wanted a torch, and they said there are 70 types of torches. So each entrepreneur was trying to beat the other in coming up with a more innovative product. So the choices, the number of choices, and a lot of people, you see a TED talk on wealth, and you'll find he defines wealth as increasing the number of choices. He says, what's the point of having so much of money when you're in a city where you can't spend it on hotels, there are no clubs, there are no facilities, no sports avenues. You have all the money, but you can't, no way to spend it. That's not wealth. Wealth is when you provide your people with choices. And you have so many choices. I remember the choices that I experienced for torches. It was so huge that that's wealth. That's really what is required for innovation. As far as patents are concerned, Indian applications are going up, which is very healthy, but the grants are going down. There were about roughly 75,000 in 2023, 2024, but in 2024-25, which is not yet complete, but going by the calendar year, the relative grants had gone down. So the Indian Patent Office needs to look at that grants should go up. Then the skill of kind of looking at patent applications, there are skilled people who can decide this is a good invention, this is not such a good invention to put your money in. And that requires a skill set to discern the difference between one and the other. That's a very important skill set. And then innovation thrives when creators are given freedom. Put them in a different department where they are insulated from what are known as corporate antibodies. Corporate antibodies are people in an organization that hate creative people. And the creative people are always kind of attacked by them in one or the other way. But you need to isolate your creative people, to protect them, to give them the sense, and this is a very interesting program. I won't use the actual word, but if you do not use your I goof up card, I goofed up, you have to use it within 1 year. If you do not use that I goof up card within 1 year, you're out of the organization. Which means that you are forced to, to invent, to innovate, to think. Because if you used I goofed up, you're fine. That's fine, that's tolerated. If you don't use that, you never even tried. And so that's the kind of approach to failure. And that requires a mindset which is very, very important for innovation. Then motivating people in schools and colleges. And I want to take you to my first 3 slides for this. It's very important. I think these are the best slides of my presentation. Yes. So first, I interviewed a couple of, I just kind of casual talk. Do you know, and you know Newton, you know Madame Curie, and you know Einstein. Can you name 3 Indian scientists? I couldn't get clean answers. Then I realized that our generations are not familiar with Indian science. So in 2023, we organized an Indian science competition. And we asked 75 colleges who participated to kind of dig up and bring out from ancient India, British India, modern India, Mughal India, inventions, and to present them in 15-minute presentations. 21 finalists came to the India Habitat Center in August 2023 and participated. And they came up with Tipu Sultan rockets in Tipu Sultan's time. Or in the Chola dynasty, there was an irrigation and silting system where the king passed a law that if somebody destroys this structure, it will be deemed to be an attack on the king and therefore punishable by death. Or rhinoplasty, or plastic surgery. All those inventions came to fore. They were Indian inventions, which are lying like fossils. So what did I do? I created a fossil award. If this is it's an actual fossil, and this was the first prize. And the team from Chennai won that for the silting and irrigation Chola dynasty invention. And they actually went to that structure and they kind of took a video of it and showed that, and people got very excited about Indian science. Then I developed a game, a board game, to teach people intellectual property in schools and colleges. And it tells you how to acquire a certain one of the 4 industries, and it goes on. It's a very interesting game. It was played in 2 schools in Delhi, Salwan Public School and another school, and they had competitions, and a lot of people got interested. And at Justice Pratibha Singh's, one of the ceremonies at their home, one of the ladies who taught IP in Delhi University, her daughter told me that she played this board game and decided to do IP after playing the board game. So it has an effect. Games like this have an effect. Then this is what you need to do to show children the science experiments. Now this is a volcano that I made for my grandson 2 days ago. It's not a very good picture, but this is the kind of exposure. The other exposure, when my grandson was 4, I made these for him. Einstein, Madame Curie, and Isaac Newton. So they were not available on the internet, but using drawings and 3D printing, we got this developed. And at that time, at 3 or 4, he was talking about the falling apple and gravity. And so I would imagine that he would be inspired to read more and more. Today, he's wanting a science experiment every Saturday. So today I have to go back and show a filtration process to him. So the point is, this is the way we have to kind of get them thinking and innovating. Now, let me come to, yes. Now, enforcement. We've seen a lot of change. IP divisions, the patent rules, the Commercial Courts Act, you all know about those. They are extensively written about. Day before yesterday, we had a decision in the Philips case after some 10 years. But one of the biggest damages awards in a SEP litigation relating to DVD technology. Huge damages delivered by the Delhi High Court. And similarly, there was the Ericsson case, there were Nokia cases, there was interdigital cases. SEP litigation has been... IAM magazine said in, I think, September 2024, that India is becoming one of the top destinations for IP litigation in the world. They are ranking it at par with Germany and UK. And that is a moment of great pride for Indian litigation. And then you have remedies, all sorts of remedies, and I won't speak about them, but they're very, very prolific. And they send remedies, good remedies do send signals globally. What is important is that the United Patent Court is deciding cases now in a few days' time. So what we really need is time limits, which we are, of course, working on. We need more judges on the intellectual property division. There's a lot of pressure there. What is happening is that if there's a trademark case and a patent case, it's natural tendency for a judge to take up the trademark case. And because the patent case requires a lot more labor of the judge. So what is required is a technical member, like IPAB had, to assist the judge. So maybe the next big move could be to have a technical member sitting alongside the judge so as to demystify the science. And then the government policies, the National Innovation Policy, the Atal Innovation Mission, National IPR Policy, Startup. But I want to really stop by giving you the story of last evening. I was having dinner with the retired head of Roche. And he told me something very interesting. He told me that it is India's now turn to move into big league. He said, you have absolute supremacy in chemistry. And when you're doing so well, with so many scientists, and with such a kind of base of pharmaceutical companies, what you need to think about are not only Indian diseases, but big molecules. And he gave me the example. He says a couple of years ago, an Indian company came up with a new molecule. Roche liked it very much. They paid $20 million to buy the license. They took a license. Unfortunately, that never developed into a product because it failed. The failure rate in pharmaceuticals is very, very high. But Roche put in 20 million. 20 million came into India. They said if the product had done well, it would have brought billions of dollars to India. It just failed, but this is an actual case of how Indian companies can now think in terms of molecules, not just processes and formulations or incremental innovation. We have to now think of the big ideas as well. Thank you very much.